Hey guys, what's going on? Jebb here, and in today's video, we are going to be discussing the correction that Bitcoin has witnessed over the last couple of days. As you guys know, Bitcoin at 9:42 on, what was it, Tuesday? I believe it was Tuesday. Bitcoin broke all-time high and rallied all the way up to $67,000. But as a lot of people have been very concerned over the last couple of days, Bitcoin has corrected all the way down to $62,000. In this live stream, we're going to be discussing, should you be very scared of Bitcoin right now? Should you be fearful that we're going to have a massive correction? Or is now the perfect time to be entering a new position? We're going to be talking about what the next 7 days here on Bitcoin look like. We got a great show lined up for you today, and I absolutely cannot wait to dive on into it. But before we do, I have to bring back our favorite, somewhat healed, T.A. Tim. How you doing, Tim? Is your shoulder feeling better, man?
What's up? Well, it's all stemmed. So for those of you who don't know, I think I've said this before. I was in a snowboarding accident a couple years ago, broke my collarbone. So in the healing process, it did not heal correct. So at first I had a rotator cuff issue, and then the strain on that went on my neck. So yesterday morning I woke up, and literally it was like the smallest move of my neck would shoot like a lightning rod like down into my pinky. So that is not what you want. So I went to the doctor. I have a plan of action. It's a little bit better today. Still a little feeling stiff, but you know, got to keep moving. So here I am.
Well, Tim is back, and we are very glad that he is back. Hopefully, he will continue to feel better. We appreciate all the prayers that you guys sent over, and make sure you keep them coming because he's still got a little bit of healing to do. But speaking of healing, Smay is going to have a wound that he's going to have to heal because I just won the HODL trophy. How are you doing,
And it's
Smay?
about time. Congratulations, Jebb.
Thank you. I'm always getting screwed over here.
I mean, can I introduce myself?
You are now introduced.
Okay,
yes. Consider yourself introduced.
Yeah, all right, because Tim decided he thought it was going to be his introduction at 2.0.
Every time Smay loses,
Hello,
he gets
everybody.
salty.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah,
This is me. Hi. I got to hand Jebb the HODL trophy
Yes,
now.
sir, you do.
So, all right.
Let's see it.
Okay. There you go.
Thank you very much. Honestly,
it's been a first time in a long time.
It actually is. I don't know if I've actually held this since we moved into the office, which is kind of sad because it's really funny. Smay is always just like the turtles. I tell you what, those turtles, they know what's up. And, you know, it worked out this week. We switched back to just doing Bitcoin, and that got me. I'm normally pretty accurate on Bitcoin. It's always the Ethereum and the Cardano price predictions that I'm not always certain of. I'm going to move that right over here, just off screen. So shout out to all of those. Smay, you need to introduce our members, buddy.
Yes. Guys, I love our members. And first things I want to say is, guys, we have a lot of cool stuff coming for our membership program, guys. A lot of cool stuff. So if y'all remember. But the people I want to shout out today, first and foremost, Crypto Alchemist, I love you.
Let's go,
Jeffrey Fritz, I love you. And Brandon Seagrave, thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. I love you guys. You guys are the best.
Woo! Thank you guys very much for supporting the channel, guys. We have a lot of charting that we need to jump into, but before we do, I just want to kind of give you a rundown of how the show is going to be laid out. Today, we are going to be starting with some bullish technicals. We're going to run till 9:55 on that, and then from 9:55 to 10 o'clock, we'll be reading super chats, if there are any, reading chat, interacting with you guys. Then we're going to talk about some bearish technicals, because believe it or not, there actually are some. And then from there, we're going to jump into our discussion. Our discussion will be starting around 15 minutes after the top of the hour, so make sure you stay tuned for that, guys. We got a lot that we'll want to talk about today. If you do enjoy today's stream, consider hitting the like button. It helps to support this channel in the algorithm. And also, by the way, if you find value out of today's stream, go and share the channel with 10 of your friends, because maybe your friends can get some value out of what we're doing here as well. With that said, let's go ahead and jump straight onto my screen, and we're going to do some charting. As you guys know, the last couple of days on Bitcoin have been quite volatile. At 9:42 on the 20th, Bitcoin broke bullish and rallied all the way to $67,000 in the span of 2 hours. Ever since then, when Bitcoin broke all-time high, we corrected a grand total of $5,200 or 7.75% in just over 24 hours. Ever since then, the last 24 hours have largely been sideways momentum with a little bit of upwards trending movement. And this is kind of what I expected was going to happen when I made my price prediction for Friday at 63,000. I thought, hey, we're either going to break bullish here and correct, or we're going to trade sideways and not break out at all. The former is what happened. We did have a break to the upside, and Bitcoin has had a small correction. But the questions that are on everyone's mind right now are, should we be concerned about this? Because you guys, if you've ever been here during an all-time high breach, drop a 1 in chat if you've witnessed Bitcoin break all-time high before. You might remember, normally when Bitcoin hits all-time high, you would think, okay, it's just going to moonshot, right? Well, that's what kind of the collective memory of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency says, but it's not actually necessarily true. So we're going to go ahead and throw a bunch of technicals at you, and then we're going to draw some conclusions from them. We're going to start on the daily chart as always. The very first thing I want to show you is that there has been a bullish, that the histogram is currently moving to the upside. Really quickly here, let me update my notes right there. Yes, so right now the thing I want to show you guys is the RSI right down here. The RSI rallied all the way up here to right around 78. It has had a steep correction over the last couple of days. That is not necessarily a very bullish thing, but it does indicate that the bulls are still in charge because we are still in this control zone here on RSI. We pulled back down to 65, nothing to be concerned about there. And the fact remains that Bitcoin is quite bullish down here on the RSI. On top of that, if we take a look here at some of these candlesticks, I just want to remind you, Bitcoin did have a pretty large bearish candlestick right here, and we're going to talk about this in our bearish segment. But for the most part, the majority of the previous candlesticks have been quite bullish on Bitcoin. On top of that, Bitcoin has been in a major uptrend for 25 days. That signals that the bulls are very, very strong. Now, moving down to the 4-hourly chart, there are a few things that I want to show you down here. First and foremost, there was a bullish engulfing candlestick formation that formed right here from 1600 hours, which is 4 o'clock yesterday, to 2000 hours yesterday, which is 8 o'clock. That was this bullish engulfing candlestick formation. That's a bottoming pattern, guys. That's very important. Then we also saw this hammer formation right here, which indicates that the bulls are strong because we had this long lower shadow, but the bulls were able to recover it, and we actually ended up in the green. So that is a very good thing. Now, another thing to show you guys, and this was found by, I'm not sure if Tim or Taylor or Kelly, I forgot who saw this, but we are actually setting up for bullish RSI divergence right now on Bitcoin. You can see an uptrending level of support right there, downtrending level of support right there on Bitcoin. That is what is known as bullish RSI divergence. Very powerful technical indicator, definitely something that you don't want to miss. Now, looking down on the 1-hourly chart, there are several things that we want to show you down here, and the first one shows up on the Lux Algo, the Lux Oscillator actually, which is one of the indicators that we've been using quite a bit lately. Guys, you might know that we are sponsored by Lux Algo, and the reason that we use Lux Algo is because it is a phenomenal indicator pack, and one of the indicators in the indicator pack is Lux Oscillator Premium. For all of you guys who have signed up for Lux Algo, you actually have access to this already. You can see Lux Oscillator just by coming up here into your indicators and strategies, typing in Lux Oscillator. It is right there, Lux Oscillator Premium. That'll bring up this indicator up here, and we can see that there was a green dot that formed at about 10 o'clock last night as the histogram was moving to the upside. The reason that this is important is because these green dots, they're not exactly buy signals on Lux Algo, but they are very, very important because they give us an idea that the momentum is shifting in a bullish direction. We can see that the previous green dot formed right over here on the 12th of October, and then we saw there was another one right here. Well, what happened after the previous one? We rallied quite far, and the same thing is occurring right now. So the point here is Bitcoin had that green dot come in. That is a very, very bullish thing. Another thing to show you here is on Lux Algo Premium itself. That is the main indicator. We just saw a buy signal come in on the 1-hourly chart. That is a very bullish thing because, as you guys know, when buy signals come in on Lux Algo, they are normally followed. There are sometimes little flukes because no indicator is perfect, as you can see right there, but this buy signal is a very good sign. And you can also see this red X right here indicates that we should have been getting out of our short positions. So Lux Algo told us, hey, look, this is the bottom right here, and we want to be trying to get out of our positions. Now, I want to show you a few more things on Lux Algo across all the time frames while I'm on the subject. And the first one shows up out here on the daily chart. Lux Algo has a part to it called the trend catcher. If you go into Lux Algo Premium here in the inputs, you can turn it on with this little tab right here. It's under indicator overlay, turn on trend catcher, and it'll give you this line right here. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on how this line is exactly calculated, but I do want to show you some historical precedent to it. Take a look at this. We saw a strong sell signal right here, but the Lux trend catcher actually reversed here on September the 6th. That indicated that we were going into a downtrend, and it was actually a leading indicator that happened before the buy signal. On top of that, you can see the strong buy signal, the strong sell signal, but you can see right here on the strong buy signal happened on October the 4th. The trend catcher actually switched and went green here on October the 3rd. What we are seeing right now is that there is potential that this could reverse and we could have a red signal. At the moment, it's still green, and that means that we are still seeing bullish momentum. We have not seen a reversal on the trend catcher, which is very, very important. Looking down on the 4-hourly chart, there are more things that we can look at down here because the Lux Algo trend catcher did actually reverse and turn bearish, and we are also seeing a sell signal there. But down on the 1-hourly chart, if I remember correctly, we could be very, very close to seeing this Lux Algo trend catcher reverse. If Bitcoin moves to the upside just a few hundred, maybe 1,000 or so more dollars, then that could easily turn around. Now, there are a few more things I want to show you on the hourly chart here before we look at market cipher. And one of them has to do with the RSI. The RSI broke all the way down to 29.5 around 1 o'clock in the afternoon yesterday. It broke down to about 29. That was a very important signal because if we look back on the history of RSI here, the last 2 times that we broke down there, we bottomed out and we rallied very, very quickly on RSI. And now we're seeing the same thing happen. It signals that on the hourly chart, we may have just seen a local low and that Bitcoin may have found a bottom. And I think that it would make a lot of sense if we did make that argument because we drew this flat level of support on Bitcoin yesterday when we were doing our stream, like right here. We drew this level of support. We said, hey, Bitcoin's probably going to hold $62,500 because that is where these highs are over here, and we shouldn't be too concerned about it from there. Now, another thing I can show you here is on VPVR because VPVR is giving us even more strong support because the point of control, it's called the POC line, is sitting right here around 62,000. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw a flat level of support right there on the POC. And guess what? That's exactly where Bitcoin bounced yesterday. So that gives us an idea of where the support is. I'll go ahead and draw a zone of support right there. And Bitcoin has been attempting to recover from it. In general, Bitcoin right now is actually looking pretty bullish. And I don't see a big reason to be terribly concerned with it. There are bearish technicals more than there normally are. But at the moment, I would not be freaking out just because we're having a correction. With that said, I do want to show you some things on the market cipher, and we'll start off by bringing it up here. Market cipher is one of the indicators that we've been using quite a bit. You can see it up here at the top of my screen. And one of the first things I want to show you is on the daily chart. We are actually, and by the way, guys, market cipher here is going to give us some bullish and some bearish technicals, so it'll be a good segue into our bearish segment. One of the first things to show you is that there's been a ton of dots coming in on the market cipher. We've seen red dot followed by green dot. There's been a little bit of confusion up here in the momentum, but generally it looks like a trend is developing, and it could be a slightly downwards trend. You can see money flows moving to the downside a little bit here. You can see there was a red dot, momentum's moving to the downside, RSI is moving to the downside, and the VWAP actually dropped below the 0 level as well. So there are some bearish things on the market cipher that are giving us an indication of where we might be going over the next couple of days. Now, looking down for the 4-hourly chart, it's actually the exact opposite. The 4-hourly chart looks like there's a bullish setup coming. Number one, the VWAP is moving back up towards the 0 level and looks like it's about to cross. That is always a good longing opportunity, not always a good longing opportunity. That is normally a longing signal, I suppose I could say. You can also see the money flow is moving to the upside. We saw a green dot, meaning that the momentum wave is reversing, and the RSI is sitting healthy. Could definitely be moving to the upside a little bit more. So the 4-hourly chart is looking okay. Looking down on the 1-hourly chart, you guys can also see that we're looking pretty bullish down here. We saw a green dot on momentum. Momentum moved very far to the upside. The RSIs are low, but momentum's moving up. Money flow is stagnant, but it very well could reverse quickly. So at the moment, I'm not terribly concerned about market cipher down on the 1-hourly chart, and the daily chart I think is being skewed a little bit, but the 4-hourly chart is the one that I really want you to take away from this. The 4-hourly chart market cipher looks like we have a buy signal coming in, and I think that makes a lot of sense because it looks like Bitcoin is finding a bottom. So with that said, those are the bullish technicals that I wanted to show you, but there's quite a few things in the news and the fundamental landscape that we also need to bring to your attention. And one of the first ones is over here on none other than Plan B's Twitter. You guys may know Plan B. He is the pseudonymous creator of the stock to flow model based off of the famous stock to flow ratio. And you can see over here on his Twitter account, he posted this. This is a chart showing the Bitcoin price certain numbers of months after the halving events. You can see up here in this lighter color, this was the original Bitcoin bull market that drove up to $1,200, $1,300 back in 2013. Then this blue color was the 2016-17 bull market that I personally witnessed. And then we can also see here the bull market that has been taking place so far. You can see percentage-wise, Bitcoin is nowhere near what it did during the previous 2 bull markets, which makes sense that Bitcoin would be having smaller rallies, but it also makes sense that Bitcoin would have room to grow. You can see here in these 2 colors, these kind of like ketchup and mustard colors here, the 2 different price targets that Plan B has and how they line up according to the previous bull markets and bull cycles. The first one up here of $100,000 sits right there compared to the previous all-time high. If we did the same percentage gain following the halving as the previous all-time high in 2017, Bitcoin would rally all the way to about $210,000. If we managed to rally to a similar percent as the 2013 bull market, we would rally to $900,000. I don't think either one of those are, well, I don't think the latter of that is likely, but I do think it is likely that Bitcoin will go to at least $100,000, if not $200,000. And just taking a look at this chart, you might be able to have an indication of why. But there's another chart I want to show you from Kelly Kellum. If you guys don't know who Kelly is, you absolutely should go follow him on Twitter. He is on our team now. He works for us. He's been a long-time viewer of the channel. He's in chat right now. Make sure to go follow him at Kelly Kellum. He actually just had Crypto Vet on his Twitter account yesterday. Make sure to go check him out. But he posted something I want to show you. Correlation to January 2021 all-time high, break/dip, consolidation, then huge run over the following 3 weeks. Point is, we are right on track. Bitcoin market is bullish. Dip was needed. Patience is the best medicine. He is comparing the 2020 bullish breakout to right now. This is what the 2020 bullish breakout looked like. This is what we're looking at right now. Remember, guys, we had a major dip following the time that we hit all-time high last year. When we originally hit all-time high, Bitcoin actually had a pretty major correction. We hit 19,500, which was very close to all-time high. We can just go ahead and call that all-time high. And within 2 days, Bitcoin corrected 17%. Drop a 7 in chat if you were here during that time, because a lot of people were like, oh man, we double topped at $20,000. What are we going to do? Sounds familiar, doesn't it? We've had a lot of discussion about, hey, could we be double topping right now? Is Bitcoin failing? Are we not going to break $65,000? There's a lot of concern right now. Don't get confused. Just because we broke $2,000 above all-time high does not mean that we're in any different of a state than we were in when we first hit all-time high on November 25th. We traded sideways from that day before we broke and started a major rally for 22 days. We just hit all-time high officially 2 days ago. So theoretically, if we followed what we did in 2020, we could end up having to trade sideways here right below all-time high until November the 11th, and then still be on the same trajectory that we were in 2020. The takeaway from this and all of these different technicals and charts that I've shown you is that we don't need to be getting freaked out about this correction. We actually need to be very bullish about this correction. Why? Because as I've said many times, it is like a controlled burn. It is a way for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency to shake out the weak hands. It is a way for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency to reset. Because here's the thing you have to realize, guys. When Bitcoin rallied to $67,000, you know what had to happen for us to rally to $67,000, right? Somebody had to buy up there. For us to rally this quickly over the span of these 4 hourly candlesticks from like 9 o'clock to 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock on the 20th, people had to buy up there. Somebody bought, some poor sucker bought up at $67,000, and then they pulled back and then they lost. I just hope that they aren't on leverage. I say poor sucker. I probably shouldn't say that, because the fact of the matter is, if Bitcoin does have the kind of bull market that we think it's going to have, that guy is still going to be 100% up in the next 3 months, even though we bought the exact top. But the point is here, a lot of people bought this rally, and then we had this happen, and then we saw a lot of weak hands. It's no coincidence that Bitcoin started a big correction right here, and it got exacerbated once we started pulling back through all these buys. You know what caused this movement to the upside right here? FOMO. FOMO caused this massive rally, and when people FOMO, they're probably also predisposed to FUDing. We saw Bitcoin have a small correction. Bitcoin corrected back below all-time high. People FUDed out of their trades. Nothing more, nothing less. The technicals and the fundamentals may have some short-term bearish things to say, but in general, they are quite bullish. On that note, I also want to look at a couple other news stories here that are pretty interesting. The first of which we're going to discuss more later on in the show, but Walmart just installed, or is installing, 200 Bitcoin ATMs in stores across the United States. Why does this matter? Well, it actually says it right here. Walmart expands Bitcoin access to more people. That is classic marketing speak. That's we'll get to why I think that's funny in a second. And gives it further legitimacy among skeptics should they roll it out beyond initial pilot. Sam Doctor, Chief Strategy Officer and Head of Research at BitUda, told Bloomberg. Here's the deal. Walmart Communications Director Molly Blakeman reported to CoinDesk via email there are 200 Coinstar kiosks located inside Walmart stores across the United States that are part of this pilot. The reason that this is important is because if you don't know this, Walmart is the largest employer on the planet with 2.5 million employees. They've got something like $250 billion in revenue, and they're one of the most valuable companies on the planet. It is a huge, huge, huge company. They dominate in-person retail, and they are the biggest competitor to Amazon on the internet. So the fact that they are implementing Coinstar ATMs and kiosks all over the country is a very, very big deal. But I also want to talk here briefly about the Valkyrie Bitcoin ETF to launch on NASDAQ today. You guys probably know that there was a Bitcoin ETF that launched earlier on this week, and it is likely the thing that spurred us above all-time high. That kind of paints an interesting picture, though, because Bitcoin was spurred above all-time high by a Bitcoin ETF that didn't have a ton of immediate impact on the price. There was a lot of volume, yes, but it's cash settled, so it didn't have a big supply shock. Nevertheless, the point is, we saw people FOMO because of an article. We rallied above all-time high, and then we corrected because we weren't quite ready yet. That kind of makes sense, doesn't it? But here is some more FOMO for the fire, I suppose you could say. Valkyrie Bitcoin Futures ETF to launch on NASDAQ on October the 22nd. Valkyrie's Bitcoin Futures ETF will go live on NASDAQ just a few days after ProShares debuted a similar product on the New York Stock Exchange. So this is pretty interesting because we saw NYSE launch a Bitcoin ETF. Now we're going to be seeing NASDAQ do the exact same thing. We waited 13 years for the first ETF, and then we had to wait 4 days for the next one. That just gives you an indication of how rapidly this space is moving and why you should be so bullish on it. Valkyrie Bitcoin ETF futures-based exchange-traded fund is poised to follow the launch of ProShares Bitcoin Strategy ETF on Friday. Valkyrie Bitcoin Strategy ETF is finally effective and is set to start trading on NASDAQ under the ticker BTF on Friday. It used to be BTFD, which was pretty funny. Shut up over there. I see you guys laughing. Ticker. That's what I meant to say.
Just need a little tickle.
Tickle. No, it's ticker. The ticker symbol BTF. Bitcoin traded fund. I'm not sure what that stands for, but up until yesterday, I think it was supposed to be BTFD, and you guys all know what that stands for. By the frickin' dip, Valkyrie confirmed to Cointelegraph on Thursday. The launch comes after the United States Securities and Exchange Commission granted a notice of effectiveness to Valkyrie Bitcoin Strategy ETF on Thursday. So, here's the takeaway from all this. I just threw a bunch of information at you, and I want to wrap it all up into a nice, neat bow so that you guys know what's going on, because I understand it's hard to digest me talking quickly in like 50 points. Number one, the Bitcoin market had a small correction, not a crash. It had a small correction below $65,000 following a break to the upside above all-time high on Tuesday. Once Bitcoin did that, it had a small correction, and everybody kind of got a little freaked out. Everybody's like, oh, why is Bitcoin having a crash? Why is Bitcoin correcting below all-time high? A lot of FUD in the market right now, which really shouldn't be there. I think that we should not be looking at this as a bad thing. I think we should be looking at this as a very good thing. Why? Well, as I've said, the analogy that I like to use is a controlled burn. The U.S. Forest Service realized a long time ago that forest fires are actually a very, very important part of the health of a forest, because if you don't have regular forest fires, then what happens is if you don't have a forest fire for 100 years, all the dead stuff, all the debris builds up on the forest floor, and then one day lightning strikes during a dry spell, the whole thing goes up in a tinderbox. You need to have controlled burns every once in a while. You've probably seen these if you live out in the country. There are controlled burns that happen all the time. They are very important because they keep the forest healthy. We need to see the same thing happen in Bitcoin. You also might call it a pit stop for gas. That's what we're seeing right now on Bitcoin. Nothing to be concerned about, and we do have historical precedent for things like these. We have every single reason in the world to believe that Bitcoin is going to do very, very well over the next several months, and I would not be getting freaked out if you were in this market right now. With that said, we're going to move into an intermission here for about 6 or 7 minutes, and then we're going to jump back into our technical analysis here at the top of the hour. So let's go ahead and read a couple of super chats.
You know what? While we have 2 minutes, what I want to show them real quick, and this is new, guys. We now have the ability to show you guys my screen. I'm super excited. So I'm going to show you guys, even echoing what Jebb just said, just so you guys realize, hey, guys, if we trade sideways and down a little bit, it is completely okay. I went ahead and highlighted on the BLX what has happened when we retest previous highs. So, for example, right here, you guys are going to see that this is the high of 17. We set a new all-time high. Look at this right here, what we did November of 2020. We touched it. I want to zoom in for you guys just a little bit so you guys can see, but then I have to zoom back out to show you guys. We touched it, came back down, touched it. We kind of had to flirt with it and move sideways for a while, but as soon as we broke through it again, we rallied again to this new all-time high here at 64. So here's a reason. If we trade downwards and sideways, don't freak out. We did the same thing with the 2013 all-time high. So we hit it over here, all-time high in 2013, but over here in January through, March of 2017, before the 17 all-time high, look at how many times we tested, rallied. We even came above it, came back down. I am sure there were a lot of people saying, oh no, like this is it, we're done. We retested all-time high, it's time for the bear market, before we saw a massive explosion in 2017, setting a new all-time high out closer to 20,000. Guys, I would not be surprised. I don't think we have to do it as long as we saw it these other times happening. I think this is going to be a couple of days, at the longest a week. But don't be surprised if we have to sit here for a couple of days and move maybe a little down, maybe a little sideways before we continue to rally up to the 100,000. There is no reason to freak out. This is all a part of, if you do historical back analysis, you see this happens frequently when we are retesting all-time highs.
All a part of the plan, guys. Nothing to worry about there. And I love that we can finally see your screen.
Yes.
Before we jump, go ahead, Smay.
Tim, listen, now that we can see your screen, you got to let me know when you're going off your screen, my friend.
All right. Well,
Okay.
I will do a better. I mean, this is new to me now that I get to do it from this seat. Over there, it's it's part of the job. Over here, it's a new job description. But
It's true.
Now I will go to my other job description, and that is to read super chats.
Cool.
So we have one from Shane Hansen saying, "What's Jebb's favorite bird?"
An eagle. Because America.
Oh, that is exactly what the chat said too. Someone was like, "It better be the."
It's an eagle. It's a bald eagle, dude. I freaking love
gosh.
eagles. Just
That
a little
is
bit of insight in my history. I used to live in South Florida, and my dad and I used to always go walking on this trail down to the eagle's nest. And there was this trail you'd walk down about a mile, and there was a bench there, and these eagles would come every single year, and they had this gigantic nest. I mean, if you've never seen an eagle's nest, they're like 10 feet in diameter. These things are freaking huge. We'd sit down there and we watch the eagles come in and back and forth, and I freaking love eagles. That's a good question. I love that. Yeah, what's your guys' favorite bird? Tell me in the chat. What is your favorite bird? I want to know. I'm curious. Better be an eagle.
Another chat from Gatidius Telecom saying, "Hi Jebb, love your TA except for the bearish part. What about the shooting star on the weekly time frame? Is this to worry about it? What to do? Do you think the bottom is? Thanks."
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the shooting star, we can jump onto my screen. I'll show them really quickly. The shooting star on Bitcoin, there's two things that you have to know about that. First and foremost, well, there's actually more than two things you need to know about that. First and foremost, the weekly candlestick is not closed yet. It's closing soon, but it's not closed yet. On top of that, there were 3 white soldiers that formed here on the weekly chart. Those 3 white soldiers are an incredibly bullish pattern. Just because we had a shooting star does not necessarily mean that the end of the rally is here. And I'm not saying that you're saying that, but some people will look at 1 or 2 technicals and think, oh man, the rally's over, when that's not necessarily the case. I wouldn't be too concerned about the shooting star in this case. It's something to keep in mind, but at the same time, we have very long lower shadows down here as well that are indicating that the bulls are winning. So nothing I would be concerned about. Full screen.
All right, we have another one from Mike saying, "Hey Jebb, any thoughts on the Mt. Gox releasing 150K Bitcoin in the coming months, possibly to its users finally?"
Yes, I think we actually talked about that yesterday on stream. The thing about that is Taylor Shrum and I talked about that. I think that when the... What's that?
His name is T. Shroom.
His name is T. Shroom. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
T. Shroom, get it right.
T. Shroom. He's one of our, if you guys don't know who Taylor is, he's on our research team, and he's freaking awesome, and he was co-hosting yesterday. T. Shroom and I were talking about on stream yesterday how when those funds get distributed, we're definitely going to see people sell, and it is likely going to lead to some short-term buying pressure. But that being said, it's also going to make a lot of very, very wealthy people that are going to have a lot of influence that have been here since 2013, or else they wouldn't have been in Mt. Gox. So all of a sudden, a lot of those benefactors of the, victims, I suppose is the better term, of the Mt. Gox hack are going to be able to get back into crypto, and they're probably going to have a big voice because they have a big portfolio and a big wallet. So it's going to mix things up. We don't know exactly how it's going to go, but in the short term, it might be a bearish thing.
Gotcha. Last one, and then I know we have an announcement before we jump back in. Jason Clark said, "CME over the weekend has been accurate for the past 7 days in a row. Could you quickly confirm? Thank you. Love all. I am halfway through CT2A."
CME, Chicago Mercantile Exchange? What? Read that again.
CME over the weekend has been accurate for the past 7 days in a row. Could you do a quick confirmation?
I'm not sure what he means by that, to be honest. I'm not quite sure what he's getting at there.
Yeah, I'm not 100% certain either.
You sure?
I'll look into it.
All right. Well, I think he has to do. I think he's talking about the futures market. But either way, guys, before we jump back into it, I have a little bit of an announcement. I want to tell you, people have been asking about this quite a bit, and we actually have something that we want to share with you. We actually have somebody who helps to bring this channel to you. Their name is Lorenzo Tax. Lorenzo Tax has been a CPA for over 10 years, and he's been doing crypto taxes since 2016, and he's actually helped quite a few of the members of this channel with their taxes. Clients include everyday investors, traders, developers, NFT creators, and resellers. People have created their own cryptos, businesses that accept crypto, and more. And like I said, we've had many, many people from the Crypto Jebb community use Lorenzo. We've run a couple of ads for him now, and a lot of people have been using him. They've been getting a lot of good feedback from them. Lorenzo Tax's company mission revolves around creating a plan that not only benefits you today, but for generations to come. A common quote of Lorenzo Tax is, "The more you know, the less taxes you owe." I love that. You guys know I'm always talking about knowledge and everything. He also acts as a financial coach to teach clients as they progress through life and business. Now's the perfect time to work with a crypto CPA because there's only about 2 months and some change until the end of the year so that you can reduce your tax liability to zero. You need to be doing that now, not after the end of the year, because then it's too late. In addition, there are several strategies that can be implemented right now to help reduce your tax burden on your cryptocurrency taxes. Lorenzo Tax has a special promotion for all of our subscribers. You can click the link in our description for a free 15-minute crypto tax consultation to discuss how you can potentially reduce your gains all the way down to nothing. I've been telling you guys for a long time that it is absolutely paramount that you have a good CPA who understands cryptocurrency. Well, it just so happens we work with a CPA that understands crypto, that has a lot of experience in it. He's been working in this space for 5 years. You can check the link out down below. He's great. I'm getting that information from all the people that are using him, following our announcements of his business. So with that said, guys, we're going to jump straight back onto the chart because there are some bearish technicals that we need to discuss. Dun, dun, dun. As you guys know, we try to bring you the bullish and the bearish so that you can make an informed decision. So we're going to talk about the bearish technicals right now. We're going to indulge your curiosity. Is Bitcoin in a massive flash crash? Are we going to die? Like, oh gosh, what's happening to Bitcoin? Not to fear, we are here. Let's look at the weekly chart first. The very first thing I want to mention is what the super chat said earlier. There is a shooting star on the weekly chart, and it would be irresponsible of me not to tell you that. We don't know what this is going to close like, but frankly, it is very likely that we are going to have this weekly chart candlestick close something similar to where it is right now. I don't think we're going to see a lot of price action until that weekly chart candlestick closes. So when it does, we're probably going to end up seeing a shooting star. That is technically a bearish factor. On top of that, if we go down here to the daily chart, there are a few other things that we can look at here. The very first one is that the MACD is converging ridiculously quickly. If we take a look down here at our MACD, you guys can see that it has been converging very, very rapidly over the last several days, moving very fast to the downside, and especially over the last 2 days, it's been converging very quickly. We could end up seeing a bearish MACD cross. Wouldn't be great. We don't really want to see a bearish MACD cross during a rally, but again, guys, it's not something that you should be concerned about because we have historical precedents for it. Remember, the day that we hit all-time high previously was up here around November 25th. We actually had a bearish MACD cross that day, and the MACD was bearish for 3 weeks before we finally had a bullish MACD cross and broke to the upside. Once we had that occur, then we started breaking all-time high and rallied very quickly. So even though this is a bearish technical, it actually could end up being a bullish technical because if we do have a bearish MACD cross, well, guess what? The bearish MACD cross would lead to the ability to have a bullish MACD cross, which could end up being fuel for the fire in a couple of weeks when we start breaking above all-time high in a big way. So nothing that you should be concerned about, but it is something that you definitely need to be aware of. On top of that, we can look at the TD sequential here. As you guys know, because we talked about it a couple of days ago, TD sequential is currently showing a 9 flash. And yes, I do see Bitcoin crashing. Or not crashing, dropping. We're going to look at that here in just a second. But the TD sequential sitting at 9 does indicate that there is some bearishness coming in. And by the way, you literally just saw this 1 flash on the TD sequential print just now. Scroll back like 5 seconds in the video. That is a very important factor. Looking down here on the hourly chart, guys, we're going to adjust our TA just a little bit because Bitcoin is currently falling below our zone of support that we outlined. I want to see what happens to Bitcoin here over the next couple of hours following this correction, because this is happening live. If we look down here on the minute chart, Bitcoin has been dropping quite a bit since we started this stream. And that, like I said, guys, is not something that I would be really concerned about. You guys might be saying, oh, Jebb, you're just saying that because you're a perma bull. Well, no, I'm not. Take a look at the historical precedent over here, guys. Last time we hit all-time high on November 25th, we dropped 17% in a day. What have we done so far? Well, if we take a look over here, in these 2 days, we have dropped 8%. If we did the exact same thing that we did back then, Bitcoin would drop all the way down to $55,000. I don't think that's going to happen, but we could drop all the way down to 55K and we still have historical precedent that we did this before the last time we had a major all-time high break. So yes, for everybody in the chat who's saying like, oh, Jebb, do you see what's going on the minute chart? I see what's going on the minute chart. Am I concerned about it? Not in the slightest, guys. This is actually very healthy for Bitcoin because there's a lot of people who bought up here who are getting wrecked, and it's going to be hard for us to have a proper rally when there's a bunch of people that are driving this market based off of nothing more than FOMO. So I'm not scared of this. I just want you guys to know that this is not something that we should be freaking out about. But as far as bearish technicals go, there are a few more things that I want to show you. The first one has to do here with the, this is in the wrong spot. There we go. The first thing I want to show you here on the daily chart and moving on here is that there was a bearish engulfing candlestick formation. I mentioned this yesterday, but it's important I mention it again. This bearish engulfing candlestick formation is the kind of thing that you see at a local top. You saw it happen right over here on September the 6th. We also see it happen many times in history on Bitcoin when we hit major tops. A good example is here on the 22nd of February 2021, and we also saw not a bearish engulfing, but something similar just the next day happened the last time we hit all-time high. So that is a bearish technical, something to keep in mind. But moving down here to the 4-hourly chart, there is one more thing I want to show you, and that is on the VPVR. If you take a look at the VPVR right here, the point of control, as I showed you, is sitting right here at this level that we drew earlier, and Bitcoin is trying to break below it right now. If Bitcoin does break below the point of control down here around 62,000, and it doesn't manage to hold that support, then we probably are going to see a correction and roll down the metaphorical hill, as we've talked about before, all the way down here to the valley, right around $60,350. So if we don't manage to stay and roll back up the hill right here on VPVR, and we roll down the hill down here, then we are probably going to see a correction down to about $60,000. Is that something we should be scared of? No, absolutely not. It should be looked at as a buying opportunity. With that said, guys, I also want to show you a couple of other bearish things that happened recently. And one of them has to do with Bitcoin BTC USD over on Binance. I mentioned this yesterday, but I just want to show it to you guys again. It was BTC USD over on Binance US. There was a giant scam wick down here, and this is not something that really plays into the technicals as far as what's going on in the last couple of hours. But it is actually pretty important because I want you guys to know what it means when there's a giant scam wick. These scam wicks like this, generally speaking, will show up when there's actually a lot of bullishness in the market. And the reason is because there's not a lot of liquidity. There's so many people buying that that people will sometimes pull cryptocurrency off of exchanges. We see the exchange balances drop quite a bit. The last time that I saw a major scam wick like this that we saw on Binance US dollars was actually on Ethereum over on Coinbase a very long time ago, back here in 2017. And guess what? That was at a local top the same way as we are right now. But Ethereum did manage to continue the bull market and move into a rally. So the reason I'm bringing that up is because this is another thing that people might be very scared of. They might be very scared of this scam wick that we saw on Bitcoin over US dollars over on Binance US, but I don't think it's something that we should be freaking out about. I think it's something that we should actually be looking to history and realizing, hey, whenever this happens, it's not a bad thing. It is something that we are able to make the most of. And by the way, that kind of leads me to another point that's a little off topic, but I'm sure you guys are going to appreciate this. There's nothing wrong with putting a dream buy order, as Kelly has put it, down at like 8,000, 10,000, 12,000, just in case there ever is a scam wick, because someone down there had a dream buy order at $8,000, because if they didn't, the market wouldn't have been able to go down there. You have to have a buyer and a seller at every single price point that Bitcoin goes to. Somebody bought Bitcoin down at $8,000, and unfortunately, somebody sold Bitcoin down at $8,000. So just a funny thing to mention. Be very careful. Make sure you're using your stop losses. Anybody that was using a stop loss would not have been caught in that scam wick. They would have been, they wouldn't have been caught at the bottom of that scam wick. They would have been caught in the scam wick, but they wouldn't have been caught in the bottom. But also make sure that you have, not make sure, but it's never a bad idea to have a little bit of a dream buy order. One final thing I'll mention before we move on here to our next intermission is a bit of longer term TA. Just take a look at this, guys. Just in case you're freaking out right now and you're like, oh my gosh, Bitcoin's having a correction, Bitcoin's having a correction. When in doubt, zoom out. What is Bitcoin doing? It's forming a gigantic ascending triangle pattern with an uptrending level of support right here, flat level of resistance right here. What do those do? If you guys know anything about CT2A, CT2A is the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy. We have a video on it right over here. It's on ascending triangle patterns. Ascending triangle patterns traditionally break bullish. Nothing to be worried about. You should actually be very excited for where the market is right now. With that said, let's go ahead and move back into an intermission here for the next 5 minutes or so, and then we're going to move into our discussion. Really looking forward to talking about some things with Tim having to do with the fundamentals. But before we do that, let's read some super chats.
Yeah, we have one from Kenneth Gardner saying, happy Friday, gents. Great show as always. How about the monthly candle so far looks to be the biggest ever?
Yes, I will actually look at that really quickly here on the screen. And actually, I think we have a little bit of time. We can go a little bit longer on this intermission than we normally do. The candlestick that he's talking about out here on the monthly chart is, as far as the price is concerned, the largest candlestick that we've ever seen. It's an $18,000 body. And this is just a good example of what I'm talking about, guys. The monthly chart right now kind of tells all. Like, I mean, do I really need to say anything? Doesn't it kind of speak for itself? Like, whenever you see the market do this number or this number, shouldn't we be bullish on this? Like, obviously, there's a point where we're going to rally so far that we get ahead of ourselves and we can't keep going, but I don't think that point is right now. On top of that, there was a bullish engulfing candlestick formation here on the monthly chart. Then there was a green-red-green formation right here. Frankly, and also we're about to close this monthly chart candlestick, hopefully in the next 8, 9, 10 days, up above the local high that we've ever hit, which was up here at 59,000. So everything on the monthly chart is looking very, very bullish. Nothing to be concerned about out here. Even the MACD, which was converging for 5 months, has started diverging again because of that massive rally. Definitely good news out there.
Let's see. We have one from Mike Howell saying, "What is your opinion about blockchain gaming coins/tokens? Not naming any specifics to shill, but curious about your thoughts."
I think it's. Yeah. I actually want. I want to not just give my opinion on this, but Smay, I have a feeling you have an opinion on this because of everything. I think that these gaming tokens are going to revolutionize gaming. I think it is going to be such a massive shift in the way that we game, and the reason is, a lot of these games you can make a full-time living playing them. I know of people that are, living in a developing country, and they are playing a game on a blockchain, and they're making their living, like, doing the equivalent of like dungeon farming in World of Warcraft. That's basically what they're doing, and they're making a full-time living doing it. When people are able to not only play video games for entertainment, but also make a real-world living, not just by being a Twitch streamer with 1 million followers, but by just playing the game without even a following, that opens up the ability to monetize playing video games in a way that we've never seen before. That is going to be huge for the future of video games. So I think they're going to end up being a huge technology. I think we're very, very, very early on in it. I think it's going to be years before we see major cultural shifts happening as a result of that. But Smay, like I said, I want to hear your thoughts on that. And by the way, guys, if you're enjoying today's stream, smash that like button. Smay, you've talked about digital gaming on the blockchain before.
Honestly, until it becomes something that's been taken on by mainstream game studios, I don't even care. Because really at this point, because at this point,
Minecraft wasn't built by a mainstream game studio.
But what I mean is most of these blockchain games, I mean, they're over promising what they're even Star Atlas. I mean, what they're promising to deliver is something that's going to take years and years and years and years and years to develop, right? So it's like right now, I'm asleep. I don't really care. But once that sentiment reaches more mainstream developers that have the capability to build huge, sweeping games that you can get lost in, then I'll actually care.
Okay,
yep. Interesting.
We have one from Rave Song Records. So one time he just donated, and the other time he left a message. He said, "It's Dave Angel. Call me Dave, or you can call me Rave, or you can call me Dave the Rave." LOL. But the question: with the continued price increase in Bitcoin, will we ever refer to it as Sats or Satoshi?
Actually, the funny thing is, I Googled last night Sats to Bitcoin conversion because I was looking at something. I was like, okay, I spent 3,660 Sats on something, which was like $2. Yeah. And I looked it up and I'm like, oh, okay, that's $2. So yeah, no, I absolutely think so. If you see Bitcoin going above $100,000, hell yeah, we're going to see people using Sats as Satoshis. In the same way you say hey, I bought a house for $250,000. You're going to say, hey, I bought a car for 250,000 Sats or something like that. So yeah, I definitely think that's the case.
Civilized Age Custom said, when you have an entity printing its own money on demand, accept or buy into crypto, it's no longer decentralized. There's enough power to manipulate.
Is he referencing something specific or just general? Because I think he's right. The thing is, when you have... The point he's getting at is that... Well, basically the point he's getting at is decentralization is good. So all I really have to say on that is I agree with him.
I think what he's saying is that even crypto, some of the cryptos are getting decentralized. Sorry. It's no longer decentralized, so it's getting more centralized.
Oh,
and there's
absolutely.
enough power in it to start manipulating.
Oh, absolutely. A good example is Binance. One of the reasons we don't talk about Binance Coin a lot is because Binance, they hold, I want to say Binance holds 40% of the total supply, and they're going to burn the supply. They're going to burn half of the total supply, so they're going to end up having 80% of the supply. That is not the vision of Bitcoin. The vision of Bitcoin is that this thing will be created and it'll run itself, and then we'll be able to have people that volunteer to update it, and then I agree with you. I totally agree with you.
Yeah. All right, we got one from X Vegas saying, I have 2,000 I can put into Bitcoin. Is that a good move? The 2,000 I have is in Quant.
Well, I don't know what Quant's doing right now, so I wouldn't want you to sell it a lot. I mean, frankly, I'm going to answer your question as if your money's in U.S. dollars. If you are only in quant, in my opinion, that's a mistake. In my opinion, every single person in cryptocurrency should hold a large sum of Bitcoin, a smaller sum of Ethereum, and then an even smaller sum of the rest of the altcoins. Why? Bitcoin is digital gold, Ethereum is digital oil. The gold market's $11 trillion, the oil market is half the planet's market because everything runs on oil right now. Bitcoin and Ethereum are the internet equivalent of those. Both of those are projects that are going to be worth multiple trillions of dollars. If you're not holding those two, in my opinion, you are trying to build a house with no foundation. If you try and build a house with no foundation, then the house is going to fall apart. You need to have a foundation, a backbone for your portfolio. There's a reason that people buy blue chip stocks. They buy an Apple, they buy an Amazon, they buy a Tesla. Well, I wouldn't call Tesla a blue chip stock, but they buy these big FANG stocks, Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google. And the reason that they do it is because it gives them a backbone in case one of their smaller, more speculative projects fails, then they have something that they can fall back on that is going to grow over time. Even though it might not have the same level of growth, it is still going to grow. In my opinion, I would make sure you have at least 30 or 40% of your portfolio in Bitcoin. Again, I am not a financial advisor. I am not a CPA. We just told you about a CPA who can give you financial advice, so definitely talk to him. The link's in the description box down below. But the point is here, if you don't hold Bitcoin, I think you're making a huge mistake. Tim, do you agree with that? What is your take on that?
Yeah, I think that you need to make sure that you are invested in the bigger ones at least a little bit. I think, especially the wisdom I've heard from people who are way wiser than me, far wiser than me in their investment portfolios, is they talk heavily about the large percentage being in the ones we know are at least going to be here for the next 10 to so years. What we're talking about is Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano. Then after that, then it is a game of like, hey, if you have money and you want to sprinkle it out, understand that some of your investments you're going to lose. Some of these projects weren't here a year ago and they're not going to be here a year from now, or vice versa, or they're not going to be here 5 years from now. But on the off chance that they are, like there's going to be a massive project 5 years from now that is probably being developed right now. It's not going to be worth a lot. People aren't going to think that much of it. But hey, it's going to be worth a lot here in 5 years. So use some money and spread it out and put it into these, for lack of a better term, penny coins.
Yeah.
And you're going to lose out on most of them. But if you hit off on one of them, that's great. Good for you. But do not put your entire portfolio into that thinking I'm going to bank on this. That's again, like the lottery ticket, like putting all your money into lottery tickets every single week. If you want to do that, good for you. But please don't be taking your entire paycheck and putting into lottery tickets. In the same way, don't take your entire paycheck and put it into penny tokens.
Yeah, because look, guys, here's the vision of what we're doing right here. We want you guys to be financially free. Full stop. That's the point of what we're doing here. We don't necessarily care so much about you getting a Lambo. We don't necessarily care so much about you getting a 50,000 square foot mansion. The point of what we're doing here is, yes, to get you those things. If that's what you want, you go make your money. You go treat yourself. You go get yourself a fancy car if that's what you want. I don't knock that in the slightest. I'm in that camp too.
Yeah.
The point I'm making here is that the reason that we're here is because we want to help you become financially free. I'm not worried about getting you from $100,000 to $1 million. I'm worried about getting the people from $0 to $100,000 because I want people to not be a slave to debt and not be a slave to the government. That's why we're here. So when I say that, I want you guys to be free, and the way that you do that is by investing in Bitcoin because that's the point of Bitcoin. Our mission is in direct alignment with Bitcoin. With that said, Tim, I think we have time for one or two more super chats.
Well, we have a couple of super chats that I want to get to, but there was a question in chat, and I want to read this one because I do think that this is not just this person who wants to answer this question, but I think a lot of people want answers. Even people in our office who have been working with us ask this question all the time.
Yeah, good.
NSP1425 said, "Hi, sorry I can't donate at the moment, but I have an important question. If I'm keeping my crypto for long term, is it still important to take profits in between time?"
It depends. So it depends on your philosophy.
Yep.
Fantastic question. Thank you very much for asking that. And by the way, guys, we very much appreciate everybody who asks questions that don't super chat. We read the super chats because we have kind of a, we want to, pay back what you guys are giving to us, but we want to answer as many questions as we can. We just have to, a show to keep going. As to the question, my philosophy has always been buy the dips, don't sell the tops. Now, I'm in a very specific situation where I don't need the profits from cryptocurrency to pay bills. I don't need to turn my cryptocurrency investment into a full-time job because I run a business. I have other ventures that make cash flow for me that are able to pay for, rent and pay for, expenses and cars and everything and car payment and like insurance and all that. I'm not in a position where I need my crypto profits to pay that, but I understand that's not everybody. There are people in crypto who are using this as a side hustle, using it as a side gig. In that case, what I would encourage you to do is this: make sure sure that you have a strategy, make sure that you have a plan, and most importantly, unless you have a good reason, make sure you follow it. It is very easy to say, okay, well, I'm going to buy in at $50,000 and then I'm going to sell at 65. But then once you get to 65,000, say, actually, we could go to 80. You know, here's the thing. It is never a bad idea to take profits early. It's never a bad idea. Don't fall into the trap of being upset because you sold too early. Be happy instead that you made money. That being said, I always encourage you guys to have two portfolios. Have a trading portfolio, have an investment portfolio. Make sure that those are split so that your investment is something that you never touch, so that you have a nest egg, so that you're not one of those people that sold their 25 Bitcoin back in 2013 for, you know, $1,000 and then regret it to this day. Have a trading portfolio where you sell those tops. The best advice I can give you, this is not financial advice, it's just my opinion, I suppose I should say, is have an investment portfolio and a trading portfolio.
A good piece of advice, I don't know, T. Sherman, was this you that said this or somebody else that I was speaking to earlier this week that said a great piece of advice is when you make a decision, think of who you will be when you're like 80, 90 years old. Will the 80 or 90-year-old version of me be proud of this decision?
Great.
So, for example, like if you need the money, take your profits and be happy. The 80 or 90-year-old will be like, hey, I remember what I was going through at that time. I remember my financial hardships.
I needed that
was
money.
Good. But if the 80 or 90-year-old said, man, if I had just held on a little bit longer, if I had just said, hey, you know what, I can get by with less and keep that there. Because if you take profits here at 62, great. But what happens if we then shoot to 100? There's going to be that part of you that's like, oh, if I had just waited. And it's like, man, you got to start thinking ahead of time to think through when I'm 80 or 90 years old, what decisions would I be proud of and what decisions would I not be proud of?
Yeah, and remember, guys, this is one of the most important things that you can remember. Money is not the end. Money is a tool to the end. You know, I've told the story before. I know a guy who knew this person, this millionaire who was, you know, he was dying. He was going to the hospital and they drove past his bank and he looked in the bank and he's like, oh yeah, I got $3 million over there. But then they drove past the house that he raised his kids in and he had all these regrets about how he raised his kids because he spent so much time making money. I don't have any problem with financial freedom. I want you guys, but why do you think we're here? This is the whole point of what we're doing is to help you achieve financial freedom. But don't forget what it's for. If you need to sell profits to pay for a medical bill or you need to take profits so that you can pay for your kids' college, that is probably something you're not going to regret. But if you take profits so that you can buy a Lamborghini when you could have bought a freaking private island in 3 years and, by the way, paid for all of that other stuff that's really important, you might end up regretting that. So that's actually advice that comes directly from Jeff Bezos. Bezos has talked about this before. If you are in 40 years, will you be happy with the decision you made today? That makes decision-making so much easier. So much easier. I have a lot of hard decisions I have to make nowadays running the company. And I tell you what, when I think 30 years from now, what would I have wished I had have done? Makes the decision way easier. With that said, Tim, we're a little bit off schedule here, but that's okay. It's really important stuff that we're talking about. Tim, I want to ask you this, and it kind of ties back into what we're talking about here. Bitcoin ATMs. I'm sure you've seen a lot of them yourself. There's at least 3 in the county that we live in.
Yeah, there are.
I know exactly where 2 of them are, and I've heard of another one. Every time I see a Bitcoin ATM, I always look at it and I say, oh, gosh, I hope somebody doesn't use that because like Bitcoin will be trading. I remember one time I was looking at Bitcoin. I was looking at one, and I'm like, yeah, Bitcoin's trading at $41,000 a day. It says it's $44,000 on the ATM. Tim, what is your opinion about all these Bitcoin ATMs that are being put into Walmarts around the world? Do you think this is a good thing for the crypto investor, or is this just something that's benefiting Walmart?
Yeah, well, so just so you know, right now, if you were to go to an ATM, at least what I'm looking at from CoinMe, which is a large distributor of these ATMs, you would be buying at $65,951.
Yeah,
so
$4,000
well
over
above where the prices are now. That's, you know, $4,000 above where the price is. What makes it even worse is best case scenario. There are locations that only charge you a 7% fee.
Only 7%.
Worst case scenario, upwards of 20% fees to buy in. You need a massive rally just to break even on the dang thing. Here's the problem / good side of it. Walmart knows that this is going to make them money and their people are going to use it. So therefore, low key, I think it will be semi-good for Bitcoin's price because it'll bring more adoption. My fear, though, however, first of all, is for the poor people that end up using it who don't know any better. They don't know that there's a better way to get Bitcoin. They don't know there's an easier and more secure way to do it. And they're just going to buy it here because they hear their friends talking about it. Because Bitcoin, you know, I would be surprised that there are a lot of humans left in the United States who have not even heard of Bitcoin and know that it has an advantage over the US dollar. So they're just going to say, okay, I heard Bitcoin is good. I see a Bitcoin ATM. Let me go take it. I just feel it's normal. And they're not going to have it as advantageously as they could have if they had done it online. Like I would assume the majority of the people here in chat are doing it. But it is going to be good for the Bitcoin price. It is going to bring more adoption. My only fear, though, is are people going to buy in potentially right before a massive dip? And that's not what we're about to see right now, but I'm just saying there will be a day again where we see a massive dip, a 20, 30% within a couple of days, and it's going to freak them out, and they're never going to want to do it again. And it's going to, to me, I think there is going to be semi of a bad taste left in people's mouth after using these Bitcoin ATMs. However, I do think it'll be short-term bullish because it will bring more adoption, more people using it. And my hope is the price continues to rally. People really love it. They learn more about it. They get onto exchanges. They get their own wallets. But we'll have to see how that plays out.
Yeah, and by the way, guys, here's the commission for all of you who are watching this chat. Go and talk to your friends about Bitcoin. Go and tell them about your favorite exchange. Go and educate them. Go and tell them about this channel. Go and tell them about your favorite YouTube channels. Go and tell them about crypto, because there's a lot of people out there that are now aware of Bitcoin, but they don't understand Bitcoin. There is a difference between awareness and adoption. The world has awareness of cryptocurrency now. Everybody and their mother's probably heard about Bitcoin. Yeah. Most people don't understand it. The key to mass adoption is first you have to get awareness, then you have to get understanding, then you have to get adoption. You have to be aware of something before you can understand it, before you can adopt it. Right now, everybody knows what Bitcoin, everybody's heard of the word Bitcoin before. Not many people understand it. It is now our job for the next several years and forever, but especially in the next several years, to make sure we are doing the best job that we can to educate our peers on Bitcoin, because I assume everybody in this chat at least knows the very basics of what a blockchain is, what Bitcoin is, how the market works, at least the very basics, which is enough to get your feet wet and start teaching yourself and become an autodidact in the space. There's a lot of people out there that have heard of Bitcoin and they, one, don't understand why Bitcoin exists, and two, they don't understand the how of Bitcoin. Go and tell the world how Bitcoin works so that they don't get screwed over by these Bitcoin ATMs. I think that they are a joke and you should never use one, in my opinion, but it is always really fun at seeing them pop up around the world because it gives us an idea that the market is growing. With that said, we got a couple of minutes here for super chats before we wrap it out.
Yeah, I want to mention one thing. We've got to talk about this earlier, and so real quick, we could actually go back to my chart. One last TA note that I want to leave people with. I saw in comments people want a TA. Here's what you guys should know about this retracement. I don't want to call this crash. I don't want to call this anything. We talked about this a couple days ago, but this is something you need to remember. I right now have the Bollinger Bands up. This orange line, for those of you who do not know, is the 20 daily SMA. Jebb talks about this in CT2A when we're teaching the health of trends and the health of bull runs / the health of a bear market if you're a bear. When you do not touch the 20 daily SMA for a long time, you put yourself in danger of having a harsh correction rather than a healthy correction. Just so you guys know, I'm actually, as a fan of Bitcoin, really, really hoping that we touch this 20 soon, and we're probably going to touch it somewhere between 59 to 61. I hope we touch it soon, because if you guys look back in the history of when we do not touch it versus when we do touch it, you're going to see a mass difference in price. For example, we touch it here, we keep rallying, we then fall right back through it. There are times in the history, and I guess I can't find it right now, there are times in the history of Bitcoin's price where we go a very long time without touching that 20 SMA, and it ends up biting us in the butt. It ends up bringing a very, very steep and quick correction. So just you guys, last TA note of the day, you guys should even kind of be rooting for it. Hey, let's go touch that 20 SMA so that we can continue a healthy rally without any consequences. So now you can go off my screen.
Boom sauce.
We'll go back to super chats.
I love that we're able to see Tim's TA now. He is TA Tim after all. We got to see it.
Let's see here. We got one from Samuel Bryan saying Fudmaster B. Nope, no, he didn't say anything. Sorry, Fudmaster B was a new name. The way it was typed on my screen was wrong.
That's
my apologies,
funny.
guys. Samuel Bryan just wanted to donate, so thank you so much, Samuel Bryan. Fudmaster B, said, what are the advantages of holding stable coins versus fiat?
Well, whenever you transact from cryptocurrency into fiat currency, that is normally what's known as a taxable event. The idea with a stablecoin is that if you're using a stablecoin, it doesn't create a taxable event. So it actually helps with taxes. And by the way, we just talked about a CPA that we know. I'm not a CPA. I'm not a financial advisor. Check the link down below. Go talk to him. You got a free 15-minute consultation with him. He can tell you all about that and give you a much better understanding of that than I really can legally and just realistically here in the last couple of minutes that we have left.
Gotcha. We have one from, let's see here, Mary Topich, I think is the way you pronounce that name. Said,
Topich.
What percentage of your portfolio do you keep in your moon bag?
Like 2%. I have a very, very, very small moon bag because I am much more of a long-term play. I'm not. So here's the deal. I want to make sure you guys understand that I'm not trying to say this pridefully, but I am saying this for the sake of trying to answer the question realistically, because I kind of have to say this to answer the question. I am not a small investor anymore. I have quite a bit of money in crypto. I don't personally need to put a bunch of money in moon bags and hope that it 100x's to build my portfolio. I have a pretty substantial portfolio already. And so I'm comfortable to have a little bit of a safer perspective on it and keep the majority of my portfolio in larger caps, because I don't need to 100x my portfolio to get to where I want to go. I need to like 10x my portfolio to get to where I want to go. So I am more predisposed towards larger cap cryptocurrencies than the moon bag. So I don't have very many moon bags. I do have some, don't get me wrong, I have some, but just because of my position in the space, my philosophy is that way. And that's what you guys need to understand. You have to be very, you have to very much understand your own position. Hey, if you have $1,000 in Bitcoin, yeah, bro, load up some moon bags. Try and catch 100x. Try and catch some money. $1,000 for a lot of people, that's a good amount of money. But if you lose $1,000, you'll probably be all right, right? You know, I'm not in that position. I have a large amount of money in cryptocurrency. I don't need to have a bunch of moon bags. I'm not knocking it, but that's just my position personally.
Gotcha. We have one from Corey saying, hey guys, altcoin daily collab coming soon?
Yes, actually. We have an interview scheduled with Altcoin Daily here in a couple of weeks, I think it is. I'm not sure exactly when that is. Smay, do you know the date on that?
I don't have it off the top of my head, but yeah, it's in the next like at least 2 weeks.
And the other question is, are we collabing with both of them, or are we collabing with just, it's Aaron and Austin, right?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure it's Austin, but I'll have to find out. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Last one that I see here, and I'll check the chat as you're, well, this isn't a question, so it's just, we have Bob back in chat saying, happy Friday, God bless. Donated $50, so thank you so much,
Thank
Bob.
you very much, Bob.
I want to make sure I didn't miss any, because there is sometimes a delay. Let me see here. Justin Pokrant. Great name.
Justin Pokrant.
Is Cardano a stable coin?
It's kind of acting like one over the last couple of days, but
yeah,
it is not. It is not a stable coin. It is a moonshot coin. Cardano is going to freaking blow up in the next several months. I am really excited for what Cardano is going to do price-wise, but I'm also excited for what it's going to do fundamentally-wise. And by the way, guys, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit that like button. Consider subscribing to the channel. If we provided you value, you can join the channel, and you can get a lot more access to this. We're uploading tons of content all the time. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Guys, that's all we got for you today. Like I said earlier, today's video is brought to you by LuxAlgo. If you want to get access to our #1 technical indicator pack that we use every single day, you can find the link for that down below. Use coupon code Jebb, J-E-B-B, for 20% off at checkout. You can sign up with that down below. And also make sure that you check out Lorenzo Tax and the webinar, because both of those are coming up soon. Lorenzo Tax is great, and our webinar is coming up on the 29th. We have a couple of seats left for that, so make sure to check that out down below. Anyway, guys, before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.